Michelle Graves, your host on today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm glad to have you here. Now, at The Power of Money, we are interested in three things happening. First, we want you to get the necessary education so that you and your family can make the decisions that will impact positively on you in your financial life. The second thing is that you be empowered to prosper. I only want the best for you. And you can only get that if you have education and then the drive to make it happen. And the third thing that is so important to me is that you recognize that life is more than a journey and that you be energized so that you can begin to participate in the truly joyous experience of living. So, here's to empowerment, here's to education, and here's to energy. I'm Michelle Graves, your host, Power of Money, and here we go.
And here we go. And as always, it's a delight, privilege, and honor to be able to bring you information that's empowering, to interview guests that are transitional and doing remarkable things, and to just send you love, because we're living in such difficult times today where relationships are challenged, where people aren't what you think, and where making decisions, especially financial, can have very, very serious consequences. But today's show is a little bit different because I wanted to bring you into my world, and that is the world at DATV in Dayton, Ohio. Dayton's been in the news a little bit in the last couple of months, have had some things happen. But when I tell you that Dayton, in my opinion, is one of the most remarkable cities that you would ever, ever, ever visit, live in, all the above, it's more than the Wright brothers and the airplanes. It's more than that. It's a mindset and a consciousness that the community here has. And I've been coming up here from Cincinnati, Ohio, where I produced my Power of Money for many years. And people said, why'd you come to Dayton? And I said, friendly place, top of the line technology, and an awesome, awesome, awesome situation for me. I encourage you, this show goes everywhere, but I encourage you, if you have not considered Dayton, Ohio to visit, that you consider it. Why? Because these are really nice people. And it's hard to find nice people today. Nothing personal, because some of you out there are a little bit different. But I love it. So today we're going to be talking to the Executive Director of DATV, Public Access, that airs in Dayton on Channel 4. Please?
5.
Sorry, she corrected me, Channel 5 in Dayton. And it also, my show airs in 54 other communities, including Raleigh, North Carolina, and Durham, North Carolina, and YouTube. So you can always type in The Power of Money with Michelle Graves and get some of the shows and look for topics that are of interest to you. But again, I want to focus this show on their new executive director, her vision, her background, and where she sees this show going. Listen, viewers, if you don't think television is major, you just have missed it. Television is truly the driving force behind social media. It is, and other venues. So I'm honored to have her as my guest for the next hour. She is a delightful woman. She is an alum of my college, Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio. Yay, 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 yay. And again, where dialogue and communication is very much a part of the culture of Antioch College. We're all over the world, people doing all kinds of things, but the critical piece is that we are trailblazers, communicators, change agents, and so she's a part of that culture, and so I embrace and welcome her today. How are you, Rosemary?
I am well. Thank you so much, Michelle, for having me.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. How long have you been the executive director here?
Just 18 months.
You've been here not quite 2 years.
Correct.
And you came into here with, I guess, a vision of how you'd like things to go.
Yes, I would have to say that's completely true. But it's also, DATV has been around and has been broadcasting since 1978. So it's
1978.
It's a 40-year legacy, and it's all about it's all about empowering people to be comfortable and be able to express, like I'm not doing right now, being able to express themselves and feeling comfortable doing it in this situation, and it's empowering people to say how they feel about things, what they're going through, how they feel about their communities, and what's going well and what's maybe not going so well, so that we can make a change together. It's about communicating. It's about allowing the community to see its wonderful diverseness.
That's
so
important.
It is important. So that I don't want to touch.
Okay.
I think that's way too important to be lost anywhere. Where I would like to see us make inroads is in the youth communities and nonprofit communities.
Okay, so talk about that. What does that look like when you talk about youth? Are you talking about a particular age span, or are you talking about, what's your definition of youth?
So youth would be high school aged.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
okay, embracing them into media.
Exactly.
Okay.
And helping them to understand that there are dangers in today's media that they need to be aware of, they need to watch out for, to be able to recognize what's fiction and what's true. I think that it is incumbent upon us to be able to help young people decide for themselves, like what it is that they can trust and things that they maybe shouldn't be trusting, and things that they should delve into a little bit more to find out where that message is coming from.
And who is benefiting from that
exactly.
message.
Yeah, exactly. So,
which concerns me with young people today. They are inundated with a ton of stuff.
It's true.
And there's no way to qualitatively weigh it, which is authenticity, factual.
Exactly.
Meaning, is this stuff real?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or is it just an illusion?
Yeah. Is it just someone's opinion?
Extremely important.
Is it just clickbait? Is it just something to
Right.
get you to click through? And if you click through, then that person makes money off of you.
Yeah.
Or or going the other way to figure out what it is that's actual facts.
Right.
And to be able to form an informed opinion.
I like the term informed.
An informed opinion.
Rather than an opinion based upon someone else's feel.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean
it
that
helps,
to me is important.
And I think it behooves us as as content makers, as a broadcasting medium, to educate young people to take care of themselves. And
I am concerned. I'm going to be
Sure,
candid
yeah.
with you. I am, because we grew up, I did, with Walter Cronkite.
Yes.
I mean, you couldn't imagine. I mean, the thought of him being nefarious and off-centered was just not even there.
No.
Television was real, controlled, sedate. Ed Sullivan came on predictably every Sunday.
Yes.
No, I'm serious. That's
know,
what I
I know
came
what you
out
mean.
of. And
Yep.
therefore, to look at news reporting today that consists of venues and sources that I have no idea where did this come from.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, and kids are, you know, they are so attuned to
Right.
to media, to content, to things that are new and exciting. And I don't think you should take away from that because
Right.
it's entertainment.
Entertainment.
Exactly, and I think that I think it's incumbent upon us to let people or to teach kids that this is entertainment and this is truth, and
And
there's
be
a place
clear.
for both.
Right, right.
But to be clear and like don't base your opinions and don't
On
base your
entertainment.
decisions on entertainment.
And that's where my challenge is, because I'm telling you, the fact that media pours into the ears and the eyes
Yep.
and then the thoughts, and what comes out of that is absolutely bizarre sometimes.
Sometimes it is.
I mean, I'm like, whoa, wait. Time out, because this does not sound right. But then when you see how it expresses itself culturally, I'll give you a case in point. It's controversial right now, but the e-cigarettes, which media embraced and pushed.
Sure, yeah.
They did. And so young people said, this must be.
Well, yeah, and part of what they did too, part of
Okay.
the marketing that came
Yes,
out of
yes.
E-cigarettes was that it's a replacement for tobacco.
Okay,
That
which sounds
it's-
good.
Right, that it's replacing tobacco. Yes, there's nicotine in it, but it's not quite as bad. So use this to quit smoking.
That is not.
And you kind of go, wait a minute, if
I-
there's
I-
still
but
nicotine in it,
Help me,
yeah, then help me understand how this is good for me.
and help me understand why everybody's dying.
Yeah, right
I mean,
now.
we
Yeah.
know about tobacco. I come from Kentucky, so tobacco is very much a part of our culture. But I don't know of any young people dying
Exactly.
from tobacco,
Yeah.
from cigarettes. They may be dying from other things, but that's an expression to me, again, of the power of media to frame a conversation
Exactly.
based upon information that may not be thorough or complete.
Sure. Sure. And I think what's coming out of that too for e-cigarettes is that they didn't do the research that they should have done.
Exactly.
And like now, I mean, e-cigarettes have been around for quite a while, 10, 15 years.
Yeah, they have.
And maybe it's taken this long for the effects to be, to be felt. But I think at the same time, it was through, I don't know whether you want to call it negligence or what, but the e-cigarette companies should have done better research.
They should have been
Like on
honorable.
what the medical, exactly.
Because you're not going to ever make me believe that scientists had not already identified that as a potential.
Sure.
I just can't believe that you can put something out and not know, because of the nature of the business.
Yeah.
You have to know the downside as well as the upside.
Sure.
And if the downside is minimal initially, then we'll just deal with it. We'll pay the people and keep moving.
Yeah, and that's
horrible.
That's horrible.
I mean,
There's no
that's
accountability there.
None.
And
None.
people are then become expendable. They're
Well, that's where my issue came when we're talking about young people today, which is, I don't need you to dumb down on this.
right.
I don't need you to be cavalier about humans
Exactly.
or animals or bugs or anything else. I need you to be consciously aware, and that's what I think DATV can and has done.
Yeah, and I think it has great potential to expand on that. And so the outreach that that I envision us doing in the future to young people is, I mean, they are, obviously, they are our future.
They are.
And, you know, we want to give them all the tools, you know, in the toolbox.
Yes.
So that they, you know, can make maybe better decisions
Well, that's my
than
hope.
prior, you
Yeah.
know, than prior generations have made.
More responsible, perhaps.
Yeah.
You know, without being stick in the muds.
Exactly. And I also think that, I see a huge potential in young people and millennials.
Yes.
And I find them to be like refreshingly humane.
You know what? I do too.
Yeah, and I mean they get a bad rap, which is,
I think they get a
which is
terrible
awful.
rap.
Because they are. They're not, you know, they're not stepping in line with, you know, like with you know, the corporate speak.
Right.
They're looking for fulfillment in what they do.
And they have every right because they're looking at their parents and what has happened to them.
Exactly. And,
I mean, and
what's
it's been a
happened
lot.
to their world.
Well, you know, I was just reading yesterday that General Electric is cutting the pensions of 20,000 of its employees.
Exactly.
And they've already cut the health care benefits for the, and I know that young people are looking at their parents suffering under this model of fairness.
Or unfairness.
Or unfairness. How
Yeah.
do you balance that? And it's a valuable conversation. No, they're not interested in buying homes because they saw their parents lose their home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they saw the debt, and they saw all the toys, and they saw marriages collapse, and they saw jobs collapse, and all of that I kind of think has led them to conclude, I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, and maybe I don't want to buy into that.
Right,
you know, into
right.
that
It's an
corporate world.
option, but it's not a guarantee. If I do that, I go into that with critical thinking and awareness
Yeah.
that this could happen to me.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I could have stuff happen to me, and not know how to come out of it. And I think that for many of them, it's a scary proposition.
I think so too.
I really do.
Yeah, and I think that we have the obligation as a media outlet, you know, to help spread the word that yes, while the world can be you know, like a scary place and you can't depend on things that you used to be able to depend on,
Right.
you still have the ability to express yourself and to be in connection with other people. And I think that's part of what I see millennials and younger generations looking at is yeah, we are all connected, and you know, like what I do has an effect on you.
I agree.
And I don't want that to be a negative effect. And so I think that we can foster that here as part of our outreach to young people. Is that come into our little family here, and you'll be safe. You can say what you want, and we will validate what you have to say.
Right.
And you know, we will help you to hone your skills so that you can say the things that you want to say and get your message across in a polished way, in a way that is going to be
palatable.
Yeah, palatable and acceptable,
Right.
and you know, is not going to look amateurish.
Right. Well, I know for myself, I knew that they were impact makers, these millennials, because by training, I'm a biochemist as well as a financier. But my biochemistry is my core, which is I dig dirt. I have the most fabulous yard. I'm not kidding you. My flowers, everything. And it was the young people. I make my own soap from scratch without chemicals, all that stuff. And I had every encounter I had, the people in my generation were like, I'm not doing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the young people were like, can you show me how to do that?
That's
Can
wonderful.
you teach me how to do that, Miss
Yeah.
Graves? Can you show me how to make soap? Can you do these things? And it told me then, oh, we're at a crossroads here.
Yeah.
We are at a place where those of us who have consciousness have to take responsibility for this.
Yeah, I agree.
We can't let them kind of wander around and figure it out and YouTube everything. Some
True,
things, yeah, although that's easy for them, but we have to be willing to bring in the humanitarian content in these relationships, because they are not like our relationships
True.
and what we came out of.
Exactly. Yeah.
They are
Yep,
different.
they are different. They
Yeah.
are. And I was reading the other day, and I can't remember exactly where, but I was reading that the more social media was supposed to like bring us all together.
That was the goal.
The goal is like, you know, it'll bring us together and we'll be connected.
Yes.
But it also is isolating.
I think it's
Because
very
you
isolating.
do it by yourself.
Right.
You know, I mean, like whether you're on your phone or on a computer or on a tablet, you're alone.
Right.
And there's no touch.
Right.
There's no connection.
That you bring up such a very powerful point. What has social media done? Well, it's made the world a smaller place.
It has done that.
I mean, for real, when I went overseas and started traveling 15 years ago, social media had not evolved. We were still trying to maneuver landlines overseas, really crazy stuff. And now it's all seamless. But, and that's the good, the world is a smaller place. But are we connected more as humans?
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
Yeah, and I think that's what's missing.
I agree.
In the broad scheme of things, I think that's the part that failed.
I think you're right.
The social media experiment
Right.
is that it was supposed to bring us together, but you know, like you find people in like in areas where you should be connecting, like
Right.
when you're out to eat with someone,
Right.
and they're on their phone.
Right, and that is not acceptable.
No,
Except
it
somebody
isn't.
forgot to teach them that.
And yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'll tell you now, when I sit down with my children, and they're all adults and responsible, but they will tell you that when we are engaged in communication, that's not the communicator.
No.
That thing does not have the ability to negotiate communication
No.
between people.
No, it doesn't. And it doesn't facilitate it.
I don't,
either.
and I don't know if that was what it was designed to ever do, was to facilitate. But I do know that it is absolutely critical at this time in history that we engage in communication.
Yeah, and authentic.
And authentic
Exactly.
communication,
Yeah.
good, bad, ugly. Talk to me. Don't just make blanket statements without some level of accountability. But I think a lot of that has to deal with the media conversation, because you can't talk back to media.
No.
No, when you look at a television show,
it's pretty
you
static.
can't say, I don't like that.
Right. Or I don't agree.
Or I don't agree. So it's pushing out a message, and it's not even a message you may want to agree with or hear, but it does not facilitate the conversation. No, it does not.
No, it's passive. It makes
Exactly.
us passive.
It makes us
It's-
extremely.
things are coming at us all the time.
Yes.
And for the most part, especially on social media, there's so much of it.
Oh my gosh.
And it's
24/7.
Exactly, and it's flashing for your attention.
yeah.
There's, it's astounding
It's beyond astounding.
how
this
you are like,
does.
we are constantly bombarded with messages that we don't have time to process.
Period.
Yeah.
And you can find yourself, and this is my concern with young people and how because their brains are still in formation.
Sure, yeah.
There's nothing static about young people with all those hormones and growing and everything.
Exactly, yeah.
They're still processing, and it's very important that that message be softened so that they can begin to look at it for what it is, which is this the truth based upon my interpretation of truth, or is this somebody's opinion?
Yeah. And
truthfully anymore, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know, Rosemary.
And I think it's you really have to dig to find out where the messages are coming from.
And who is benefiting.
And who is behind it, who's benefiting,
the green
who is
man
behind
the green curtain.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, we do have to, we have to be able to, to open those doors to young people, to get them to realize, and I know that sounds like I'm imposing something on them. That's not what I mean. What I mean is to introduce them to challenge what it is that they're seeing, what they're hearing, what people are telling them, in this
and the filtering.
Talking heads.
Yeah, the filtering and acknowledging that all information comes out of a specific filter. All information.
It does.
And you cannot, unless you understand what that looks like, you can begin to come to conclusions that are not necessarily factual or even truthful.
True, yeah.
And then off you go to the races. I had an opportunity to go to my class reunion, Walnut Hills High School in Cincinnati, 50th year, and it's an illustrious school. But I sat in a class called Cultural Geography.
Oh my.
Oh my God, I felt so dumb at the end of the class. I was like, you all need to run this country because I don't have a clue what you're even talking about.
Wow.
But they talked about the filtering and how the dominant culture, no matter how you got here, the dominant culture will always impact and influence you to their way of thinking. And they showed it diagrammatically where cultures had gone into areas of the world where people had never seen humans. And it wasn't even but a couple of years, and the kids were wearing sunglasses.
Oh my goodness.
And the parents were like, don't ask me.
I don't know
how this happened. But it is a cultural infiltration, and we have to be watchful, in my opinion, of how our young people are exposed to that. And as long as they have the ability, and it is learned, and it is directed to say, where did that come from? And is that really true for me?
Is that a reflection of my experience?
There you go.
Is that a true reflection of
there
my
you
experience?
go.
Yeah, and I think that what we can do here is help kids to understand how to express themselves that way.
That is very powerful. And you're going to do, and DATV is going to be at the forefront in this, in terms of working with young people?
I hope so.
Okay.
I don't see any other organization in Dayton doing this.
I don't
Working
see
with
any
kids
organization, period.
in that kind of
No, I'm not kidding you. I don't see that human touch that I think is essential for making sure that they understand the power of media.
Exactly. I mean, and media is powerful.
Oh my gosh, if you say that
influences-
again,
yeah.
media is powerful.
It is. It influences us. It penetrates, and like you said, it infiltrates all aspects of your life.
Yes, it does. There's no reason that advertisers are on commercial television.
Exactly.
Because they know that if you watch that advertisement enough times, you will believe it's the truth.
Exactly, and that's
I
the
mean,
point.
that is just like, really now?
Yeah, well, that's the point of advertising. That's
Yeah,
the point
to
of
get
marketing.
their message across to a captive,
To a captive audience.
passive
Audience.
because you're sure not going to cook and try to watch reality television or those kind of things. So I think the fact that DATV is public access, commercial free,
Yeah.
changes the story. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. We don't have to answer to an advertiser or
That's major, by the way.
It is major. One of my first jobs, I hate to admit this, but one of my first jobs was working for a publishing company.
Publishing company. Okay.
In
Print
New York
books.
City.
Oh, New York, even that.
In New York City, and I
Okay.
worked for a magazine.
Okay.
And it was a home magazine.
Okay.
And I worked in the sales, promotion, and research department.
Okay.
So
That's interesting.
I mean, I thought it was very interesting. I did a lot of market research.
Yes.
Like concerning the specific magazine that I was working with. And what that taught me was many things. Like on a very surface level, I became very cynical. It's like, okay, this is what, if I can just use the right words to get my point across, then I can sell this magazine to any number of sponsors, any number of companies that would come in.
That would underwrite.
Right, and so it was all about spin. It was all about
the spin.
Right, the magazine didn't have a huge readership.
Okay.
But the readership it did have was highly educated, had lots of discretionary income, was the right age, like between 34 and 50.
Okay.
It was exactly who advertisers wanted to see.
Right.
Like, and there was a lot of liquor advertisements that were like peppered throughout the magazine, and so it was a very that was enlightening for me. On the one hand, and on the other hand, it was like, I can't do this the rest of my life. This is
you can, but I don't know about your mental stability after
exactly.
20 years of that. I mean,
right.
You would be a cynic for sure.
Yeah, and so you have to decide: do I want to go down that path, where I'm not being authentic to myself,
right?
Or do I want to maybe go back to school and see what I can find, see where I can put my my writing skills to work?
Okay, so
for a better cause, for something, to do something better for the world, to give back. I know that that's like kind of a overused term.
It's still relevant.
It is. It is still relevant.
It is so relevant today because we're in a situation where it looks like everybody is a narcissist, and gripping and groping and coping and trying to get through their agenda.
True.
And writing is powerful.
It is, and so when I did take that different turn, when I quit New York, and took the different turn, I realized that I could work at a nonprofit and use my writing skills and all the things that I learned in advertising and marketing, and I could bring that to bear in the nonprofit world.
Do you find that that is the case with a lot of people in the nonprofit? Because in the corporate world, the perception is that people do nonprofit and churches who are nonprofits as well.
Yeah.
Because they don't bring anything else of worth.
Right, that they bring nothing else to the table.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think it depends. In nonprofits, like, there are different sectors of nonprofits. There's like arts and humanities, social services.
Right.
What am I thinking? Like youth.
Yeah.
Food insecurity, shelter.
Right.
domestic violence,
Right.
like those kinds of things. Like they all sort of like fit into that social service, that group, and they're driven by a different, I think by a different need personally.
I think you're right.
They're driven to help people get their lives back on track.
I totally agree.
And
As it
people
should be.
in the arts and humanities they have a different drive.
Right.
Their motivation is, without art, the world is an ugly place. We need art as humans.
We do.
In order to live.
Right.
To live and appreciate the world around us.
Correct.
And I think that motivates them.
Okay.
And then, religious and churches are motivated by a different
Correct.
drive, and their drive is spirituality,
Right.
salvation,
Right.
and
right. God consciousness.
exactly.
Right.
And I think that there are lots of people who work in the corporate world who, after 25, 30 years of doing what they did, think
done.
there's got to be something more.
Yeah, they're going to burn out because the nature of a corporation is constantly providing for a select group of people.
Right. I mean, especially if you work in a in a publicly traded company. It's all about the stakeholders.
It's all about that, and given the fact that I've done both, in terms of being on the boards, many boards of nonprofits, and truly seeing the value. I have to say the value of what they bring to the marketplace as opposed to corporations that are always driven by returns,
Sure.
profitability. Profit is paramount, and they will do whatever they need to do to make sure that is met, versus a nonprofit which has to depend upon its ability to raise money.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to be able to raise money to sustain.
In order to deliver your
to deliver your promises.
Services.
So it's one's here and one's there, and truthfully, if I could make a living in a nonprofit, I probably would never have crossed over into the world of corporate in financial services and insurance and banking and all that, because it truly is not as soul satisfying.
No.
I'm just telling you, it's not. At the end of the day, it just isn't. It's not nearly as enriching as when you can help another human being.
Yes.
So this show I do with you all works for me because it's volunteer. The information, in my opinion, is precious.
It is.
If you take the time to listen to the shows, you will be enriched by the experience. And that's all I want. I want people to be able to leave that experience watching that show and say, you know something, I learned something today. I learned something about money. I learned something about relationships. I learned something, and I didn't learn it in a hostile-driven way.
True, yes.
And so that's the reason I'm most impressed with your vision and where you see this station going. Do you see a niche for your station in the future?
I do. I think we have to be cognizant of the fact that that maybe cable companies and the way we receive our programming and content probably is going to change in the future.
Okay.
That I think cable companies in general are looking at the traditional way that they have delivered programming into people's homes, like through an actual cable.
Yes.
Maybe going away.
That may be.
Yeah, because more and more people are dropping their cable service.
Right.
But what they're doing is dropping cable, but they're not giving up the airwaves.
No, they're not.
They're still subscribing to to Wi-Fi and to cell service and things like that. And so that's where eventually, that's where programming and content is going to end up.
I absolutely believe you're right, Rosemary.
And I think what we have to do is be forward-thinking enough to realize that, yes, there's still going to be, like basic cable being delivered to homes, because, there are still people who will consume that, and that's what they want.
Right.
And they don't want this other stuff. But the majority, I think, is going to be in different delivery systems.
I think you're
and
right.
we have to move in that direction.
Well, apparently the big companies figured it out.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they have and are making their own moves. When you look at Walt Disney and what they're doing independently, and other companies, they do recognize that people want the freedom.
Yep. To
choose.
To pick and choose when they're going to watch.
Right. And the technology is there to support it.
Yeah, it is.
It's just the issue of how are you going to deal with existing programming?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a driver.
It is, and you know that people, I mean, obviously people binge watch things.
Yes, they do.
Like when you have big weekends.
Yes.
And they invite people over, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, I
you
think
get
it
to
is
interact
cool.
with,
Yes, I think
your
that's
friends.
cool. Yeah, eat popcorn and talk.
You binge watch whatever it is that you're going to binge watch.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty much going to be the future of how content is delivered.
So how does DATV fit into this shifting paradigm?
Well, we actually, we do that now.
Okay, well, give me more.
In that we stream 24 hours a day. We stream on both of our channels.
Okay.
Channel 5, the public access, and Channel 992, the spiritual channel.
Okay.
And we stream those 24 hours a day. So
a
whatever
person
you're
can
watching.
look on their computer.
Yes.
And type
Or-
in, or their
or a device.
mobile.
Any kind of a device
And
that gets that.
The entire contents of the day, of the week, of the month.
Yeah. So whatever is playing on Channel 5 is streaming simultaneously on our website.
That's good information.
And we have, there's that. And we also have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
And we upload our programming to our YouTube channel.
Yes.
So like you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and then pick from the different shows that you want to watch.
Now that's powerful.
It is, and there are other access stations across the country that use different delivery systems.
Right.
Besides the cable.
Right.
They use Roku is a popular one. But you can also you can get a channel on like the Amazon Fire Stick or Apple TV.
Right.
And I think that these are areas our delivery system is going to have to change. This won't change where and how you make your content.
Right.
It's just the delivery system that'll change.
Well, this is so interesting because in my quest to get placement of this show into other systems, it's amazing. They're all over the place.
They are, yeah.
I mean, there are those that do not have any of this going on.
Right.
And they want you to mail them. And I'm like,
join the 21st century.
What? Mail, like put in the mail? Yeah, and then we'll look at it and see if we can upload it. Well, what happens if you can't upload it? And that has happened.
Yeah.
And then I tell them, I said, are you familiar with what DATV does and what they have the capacity? Well, we're not very well funded. So the conclusion would be your funding is a function of your technology or your How do they come into the next century where you all are?
For some of the smaller access stations, it is going to be difficult.
I definitely think it's going to be difficult.
For the longest time, we have access channels like ours, excuse me, and educational and government channels have depended on the franchise fees that cable companies pay to the local municipality to use the rights of way in the city.
Right.
The idea being that, you're using public land,
Correct.
you need to pay us a fee to use the
Correct.
public land.
Right.
And so the cities get a portion of, they get up to 5% of what the total revenues that a cable company collects from its
Right.
subscribers.
Right.
And that fee, that 5%, gets thrown at the city. And in our case, it's the city of Dayton.
Okay.
And then we get a portion
Of that 5%.
of that 5% to do this,
Right.
to be an access station that the public can use.
Through the cable venue.
Right, through the cable
Okay,
venue.
okay.
However, over the last several years, and this probably is dependent on many factors, this station has actually, they've lost half the funding that they used to have.
Because of the cable system changes?
I think there are many reasons. Partly is not as many people are subscribing.
Okay. Because they're making decisions.
Yeah, they're
about
making
cable.
decisions about how they want to consume their entertainment. So there's not as many people that are subscribing, and so obviously that makes the fees go down. We have made adjustments, but we
Yes.
have also, I think one of the reasons why they hired me was the board and the staff here made a decision that they wouldn't go any further than this. They are down to, a bare
Right. Minimum.
staff. And they won't give up on the technology.
Right.
We will spend the money on the technology.
Right.
But we need to diversify our funding.
Yes, I could
And-
totally agree. I
and
totally agree.
That's what I've been tasked to do, which means that I look for grants. And
Yeah.
we have to build a donor base.
Yes, you do.
And we have to start asking for money, which
Right.
from people like you, from viewers,
Right.
from people who are appreciative of the fact that there is this
Venue.
this facility
Right.
in their hometown
Right.
that that empowers them to
Right.
to
Because I'm going
connect
to tell
with
you right
everyone
now,
else.
Cincinnati doesn't have this.
They have a peg station, but it's they're
They
heavily
do?
they do.
When did this happen?
They've been around probably as long as we have. But they're not as publicly oriented. They're
Because
they're
they
much
have
more
the government. Yeah, that's
and
housed in the
educational.
city government building.
Exactly. Yeah.
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 Real
So
friendly.
We're part of the all the same.
Yeah, but they don't
the
have the
same entities.
content.
They don't have the no. They don't. They don't
really
have this
don't.
kind of
No,
content.
they do not.
And it's not empowering people to.
No, I'm telling you,
to
I'm
do
here.
this.
That never could get worked out. The government, and I'm not going to disparage, they do what they do, but the loss of diversity in media
True. Yeah.
is significant.
It is. It is.
I mean, they have to look at the show on YouTube. That's it.
Yeah, and that's You don't get it. You don't get it delivered.
You don't get it. You don't live stream anything.
Yeah, and that that's unfortunate.
That is. That
Yeah.
really is, because I'm looking at that particular alternative, the public access venue, as being the creative side of media.
And I think it is.
Yeah. I mean,
do.
my ability to interview all kinds of people all over the world to talk about subjects that are of vital concern to most people is pretty important. And
Yeah.
not to be, I don't ascribe myself as Charlie Rose. I mean,
And
yeah.
maybe you wouldn't want to.
And
either.
maybe I wouldn't want
Yeah.
to right now. Okay. Bzz. Anyway, but the fact is that he did have guests that were quite unusual
They were.
and distinct for what they talked about. And I enjoyed the show because of that. But I would like to think that DATV has a vibrant future. Now, I know you're focused on young people. Are there any other groups that you are going to be looking to expand and grow?
I would like to see us be more active with the nonprofits in this area.
Okay.
Because the nonprofits are, they're hurting as well financially.
I know they are.
And what I've been trying to do, and they've done this in the past here as well, but this year we ran 4 days, or we will run one in December, but where we invite the nonprofits in the area to come in and record like a 3 to 5 minute PSA.
Okay, that's a public service announcement, folks. Okay.
Okay, and that's been really successful. People have come in.
They've done it?
Yes.
Have they seen results?
And that I don't know yet.
Okay, so you have to do that part.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the follow-up.
Okay.
Is, has this helped
But
you?
they did it.
But they came in, and and we make it really easy.
Yeah.
For people, they come in and we put them in front of the green screen.
Right.
And they get their logo.
Right.
And it's a very easy thing to do. And it's been really successful. We've had we've had really good response.
I'm glad to hear that because that
people.
builds relationships as
It
well.
does.
And takes them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Which is.
Yeah, because this can be intimidating.
Yeah.
It can be a little scary. Yeah.
Anyway, our time is up.
Yikes. Okay.
Yikes, I know. I appreciate you taking time to share with me your heart, because this interview was not a cryptic, it was just a heart interview about your vision, your goals. I'm crisp now that the young people are important, the nonprofits are important, and that people matter.
They do.
People matter. They're what they feel, how they process things, and the role of media in making sure that you have a balanced perspective. That's important, and I thank you so much for representing DATV so wonderfully.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I mean it. I told you, I said, oh, I got to put you on because it's important. The leader sets the foundation to move forward.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your boards are nice, but it's that leader that sets the standard. So I just thank you.
Thank you. And I do have to add to that. You have to have the backing of your staff.
Oh my gosh, I think of Melissa Constantine, who is essential. I mean it. She's essential for where I am today in terms of assistance, way beyond the call of duty. And I just want to thank you for allowing me to have her and Dale, because I couldn't do anything with Dale without Dale.
Without Dale.
I'm always
And
messing up.
Steve.
And Steve, and all this whole group that I call my family.
Oh, that's
They
so
are
sweet.
my family.
Thank
So I want to
you.
thank you for allowing me to be a part of DATV's family.
Oh, we love having you.
Oh, I'm blessed to be here.
Thank
So
you.
on today's segment of The Power of Money, I've just concluded this wonderful interview with Rosemary, their new executive director. I appreciate their support. They make it happen for me. What I do is not the challenge. It's putting all the pieces together and making sure the right message comes across for you all to be loyal viewers. And you've been loyal viewers in Dayton for 7 years. I can't believe it, but it is what it is. So again, signing off on today's segment of The Power of Money, I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known for the last, I don't even want to tell you because you're going to start figuring out my age now. But I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this TV show since 1982. That's a long time. And I do appreciate my association with them and what they bring to the table. Be a supporter, be a donor, and watch the shows. Closing out today's segment of The Power of Money, I'm Michelle Graves. God bless you richly. May He keep you and sustain you in the days ahead. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.